In this video, we're going to take a look at the Pierre Cardin President. So let's jump straight to the end with my thoughts on it. I find this pen to be perfectly normal to use it. It's nothing standout special, which in a certain way can be its own good thing. It's a very understated pen, being black and gold, and with that, it's gold looking, sorry. With that, it doesn't demand attention in any kind of way where you have to worry about it being stolen. Now, with that, it's also quite inexpensive to get. So even if it did get stolen, you're not really dealing with any kind of major problems. Its size in my hand is comfortable. It's not like I have any complaints on this pen. Its cheap build, though, you can feel while you're using it. You can hear it in the snap of the cap. It, in general, feels like a cheap pen, but it does write very nicely, which gives a pleasant experience. The nib was much smoother than I had expected, and I think this could be a better pen to deal with than a few of the Jinhaos for that. I get stuck on, it does have that cheap feel. The kind of cheap feel that I'd kind of almost prefer of Varsity. Now that we know how I feel about the Pierre Cardin President, let's see how we got to that opinion, starting with the unboxing. The Pierre Cardin President did not come in a box, but came nicely wrapped in bubble wrap with a bunch of Krishna ink that was ordered a couple years ago. The packaging was nothing special, and it really was something that I picked up on a whim as a pen when I was ordering a whole bunch of inks from Krishna a long time ago, and I figured there was no harm in go ahead and getting it. With the pen out of the box, we need to get to the nib. Now, to be honest, as long as it doesn't take 20 turns to uncap a pen, I'm fine. But how many turns does this pen take to get uncapped? The Pierre Cardin President is a pull cap. The snap of the cap doesn't feel especially secure. Now, with that, I haven't had an issue with this pen drying out, so it does a plenty good job in keeping the nib wet. It just, again, has that kind of cheap feel, and it doesn't feel like they put a real effort into making sure that you had a good, solid capping mechanism. This gets us to the nib. This pen has a steel medium nib. I feel like they missed the mark with using a dual tone nib here. A single tone really would have looked better, in that I'm not always a fan of dual tone. A pen really has to be able to carry both of those colors. And with the aesthetics of this pen, I don't feel like it's doing it. I would have liked to have seen this nib as simply a single tone with its simple designs on it. If you enjoy videos like this, then be sure to hit the subscribe button. Now, let's ink this pen up. The Pierre Cardin President is a standard international cartridge or converter pen that holds approximately 0.7 milliliters of ink. The ink for today is Pilot's 100th Anniversary Green. The original filling mechanism that came with this pen was not good. It really didn't hold ink almost from the very beginning, and it almost fell out of the pen all the time, inside the pen body a number of times. I replaced it with a standard international, which did fit it, and it fits it kind of loose, so I'm not exactly sure about the best converter for this pen. As a habit, I don't normally post my pens, but some pens need to be posted, and some people prefer to post their pens. This pen, the cap does fit onto the back, not securely. It does not post very well, so if you have to post your pens, you're not going to be very happy with it. I do find that it's thick enough and long enough that I have it comfortably in my hand without any kind of a real problem, so not posting this pen isn't a problem for me. Now, the important part, the writing sample. As I stated, its writing experience is much better than I actually expected. The nib is quite smooth with very little feedback at all. It's very surprising. They did not skip any attention in making sure that the nib and the writing experience with this pen was as good as a much higher priced pen. And that is always a good thing when a company does take a little extra attention on some certain things. I wish they had taken a little more attention into the cap. I get stuck on that. The section of the pen feels wrong. I don't know how to say that. It's not uncomfortable. The material that makes the section feels wrong. It doesn't feel like it's a coated metal, and it feels like a cheap plastic. Now, it is plastic, but it doesn't have to feel like a cheap plastic. There's plenty of pens out there that have plastic sections that don't feel cheap. With that said, and with the problems that were with the converter, I don't see it as a horrible pen, but it is not a pen that I plan on holding on to much longer. I really look forward to the opportunity here shortly to put the pen down somewhere and see if it walks away for me. It would almost be a relief because I don't know that I want to give this pen away to someone, because I would hate for that as to come back on me as an opinion. Again, saying it doesn't write bad. It writes really well. The most usable part of this pen is the nib. The nib writes incredibly well. The flow is good. It's the pen itself that I find to be really lacking. Now for something a bit more standard in comparing writing size. I use Namiki Blue to do this. Here it is with a Yovo Extra Fine on the left, medium in the middle, and a 1.1 stub on the right. We see that it does give a very predictable performance in writing as a medium, and with medium being the most common nib that people would really use, I think this does a great job. This is a nib that I can absolutely see putting onto another pen just to be able to keep the writing experience. So perhaps for the nib alone, this pen is absolutely worth it. So how does it compare in writing size to other nibs I've used? Looking at the writing of a Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib, here it is next to a Pilot E95S with a medium nib, a Cross Bailey with a medium nib, a Pelican M1000 with a fine nib, a Lamy 2000 with a medium nib, and a Fountain Pen Revolution Japer with their broad nib. It isn't a pen review without doing some size comparisons. Here it is capped. Here it is uncapped. And here it is posted. It's a completely average-sized pen, and with that, it's comfortable in your hand. It's long enough that you do not have to use it posted, which I think is kind of a good thing for this pen, because the posting isn't especially good or secure. So the fact that they made sure that it was long enough to be able to use without posting is a great benefit for this. Unless you're someone that has to post your pen, then skip it. At this point, we have a dirty pen that we need to go ahead and clean. Be sure to check out the next pen review when we take a look at the Pilot Custom 912. If you want to be able to support not just my channel, but any reviewer, then when you make a purchase, be sure to tell that retailer where you heard about it. Thanks for watching.